Heart of a Champion. Alexandra Eala donates $1.5 million to rebuild Cebu after typhoon and earthquake. The island of Cebu, once alive with the rhythm of tricycles, laughter, and street vendors calling out beneath the coconut trees, had fallen eerily silent. Days after the twin disasters, a violent 7.4 magnitude earthquake followed by Typhoon Melina, one of the strongest storms in recent history. The once bright city lay under gray skies. Buildings had crumbled. Churches that stood for centuries now wore scars of broken stone. The sea, once turquoise and calm, had turned murky with debris. In the middle of the devastation, a name began to echo across the shelters and radio stations. Alexandra "Alex" Eala. The young tennis star, only 20, had not just sent words of comfort. She had sent action. Her message, read by a local newscaster, brought hope to a nation in pain. Cebu is more than a place on a map to me. It's part of who I am. I'm donating $1.5 million to rebuild schools, homes, and dreams. Together, we'll rise again. The shelters erupted in applause. And just like that, the story of a champion shifted from the court to the heart. The girl from the islands. Before the trophies, before the headlines, Alex Eala was a little girl who played barefoot on the streets of Manila and later spent summers in Cebu, her mother's hometown. Her grandmother, Lola Mila, would always tell her, "Remember, Anik, it's not the strength of your arm that matters. It's the kindness in your heart." When she was 10, Alex spent a summer helping her Lola run a small carinderia, street eatery, in Cebu. Every morning, she'd deliver food to fishermen and school children, smiling as she handed out steaming plates of rice and adobo. That memory of giving, of serving, had stayed with her long after she became an international tennis sensation. So when the news broke of Cebu's destruction, Alex's first reaction wasn't shock. It was responsibility. The night the earth moved. The earthquake struck at 10:42 p.m. on a humid Friday night. People were just settling into bed when the ground began to tremble. Walls cracked. Glass shattered. The tremor lasted only 38 seconds, but was enough to tear through centuries of history and leave a trail of fear. Minutes later, Typhoon Melina arrived, as if the earth and sky had conspired to test human resilience. Winds howled at 180 kilometers per hour. Trees were uprooted. Power vanished. People huddled in darkness, praying for the morning. When the sun finally rose, Cebu looked like a ghost of itself. Hundreds were injured, thousands displaced. Entire barangays were underwater. Alex was in Madrid at the time, training for an upcoming WTA tournament. Her phone buzzed nonstop with messages. But when she saw the first image, a collapsed bridge near her grandmother's village, she froze. She whispered, "Lola," and within hours, she was on a flight home. The return. It was early morning when Alex landed in Mactan Cebu International Airport. The runway was damaged, and parts of the terminal were still without power. She wore no makeup, no sports gear, just jeans, a white t-shirt, and a cap pulled low. Reporters rushed forward, cameras flashing, but she waved them away. "I didn't come here to make headlines," she said softly. "I came to help." Her grandmother's home in Karkar was still standing but cracked. When Alex saw it, she cried quietly. "I used to run here after every practice," she said, running her fingers along the fractured wall. "Now I'll help rebuild it, and every home that needs it." She immediately announced her donation, $1.5 million from her prize money and sponsorships, to a new initiative called Project Lakas, aimed at rebuilding schools, community centers, and small homes across southern Cebu. Project Lakas begins. Within days, the plan came to life. The funds were divided into 3 branches. Bahay para sa Bayan, homes for the people rebuilding 300 houses in coastal towns using sustainable bamboo and storm-resistant roofing. Eskwela Muli, school again restoring 5 damaged schools, providing new desks, books, and sports equipment for children. Project Lakas tennis camps, setting up pop-up courts and shelters to give kids a mental escape and a dream to hold on to. Even if they've lost their homes, Alex said, they shouldn't lose hope. The first school, the first reconstruction site, was San Roque Elementary School, perched on a hill overlooking the sea. The quake had cracked its walls, and the Typhoon had torn off its roof. When Alex arrived with her team, she was met by dozens of children holding handmade signs. "Welcome, Aid Alex. Thank you for not forgetting us." She smiled, fighting back tears. "You're the real champions," she told them. Together with volunteers, she helped paint new walls, bright blue and white. Under blistering sun, at lunch, she sat on the ground with the students, sharing rice and tinola cooked by local parents. One little girl tugged her sleeve and whispered, "Eight, is it true you can hit the ball faster than a car?" Alex laughed. "Sometimes," she said, handing the girl a signed tennis ball, "but only when my heart is light." That day, she didn't feel like a celebrity. She felt like a daughter returning home. A moment of quiet. At sunset, after the volunteers had gone, Alex sat on the newly repaired basketball court that would double as a tennis training area for the kids. Her phone buzzed with messages, sponsors, the WTA journalists, but she didn't answer. She watched as the sky turned orange over the sea. Birds returned to the palm trees that still stood. Children laughed nearby. And in that fragile calm, she felt something greater than victory. She thought about how tennis had given her a platform. But this was purpose. Her grandmother walked up behind her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You've made your Lola proud," she whispered. Alex turned, eyes misty. "I just wish I could do more." "You already are," Lola Mila said. "You're rebuilding not just walls, but hearts." The power of one. Word of Alex's efforts spread fast. Donations began pouring in from around the world. The full circle. On the second anniversary of the earthquake, Alex returned to Cebu. Children lined the streets, waving flags. The air was thick with music, guitars, drums, and laughter. She visited San Roque Elementary again, now freshly painted and full of life. On the wall, a mural depicted her holding a racket with the words, "Lakas ng Puso," the strength of the heart. Inside, Jomar ran up to her, taller now, grinning. "Eight, look," he shouted, holding up a small trophy. "I won my first tournament." Alex smiled, pulling him into a hug. "I told you, just keep swinging." As she looked around, at the rebuilt classrooms, the children, the laughter, she realized her Lola had been right all along. It wasn't about the power of her arm. It was the heart behind it. Epilogue. The champion beyond the court. Months later, when Alex won a WTA title in Dubai, she was asked on live TV what inspired her the most in her journey. She paused, looking directly into the camera. "Cebu," she said simply, "because that's where I learned that real champions don't just win matches. They rebuild hope." The crowd erupted in applause. And somewhere across the sea, in a small house in Cebu, a grandmother turned off the television, smiled through tears, and whispered to herself, "That's my granddaughter, the heart of a champion." Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.